The year was 2674. Earth was no longer just a single blue planet in space. Humanity had spread across the stars, building strong colonies on distant worlds. Together they formed the United Human Federation, a powerful force among young civilizations. But even with all their progress, humanity was still small compared to the ancient empires that ruled the galaxy. Captain James Walker stood on the command bridge of the UHF Valor, his ship, tall, sharp-eyed and calm. Walker had seen many battles. His uniform was simple but crisp, showing his pride in the fleet. The Valor floated above the colony world of New Eden, a lush planet with green fields and blue oceans. It was one of humanity's proudest achievements. The calm didn't last long. "Captain," said Lieutenant Sarah Holt, the communications officer, her voice tense. "We are picking up a transmission. It's from deep space." Walker stepped forward. "Put it on." A deep, cold voice filled the bridge. "People of Earth, you have expanded too far. You threaten the balance of the galaxy. Surrender your colonies and submit to the rule of the Galactic Empire, or be destroyed." Silence fell across the bridge. Every officer stared at Walker, waiting for his reaction. Walker's jaw tightened. He had heard of the Galactic Empire. Stories told of a vast, cruel empire that ruled most of the galaxy for thousands of years. But until now, humans had been too small for the empire to notice. That had changed. He turned to Sarah. "Any information on their fleet?" Sarah nodded, her face pale. "It's massive, sir. Over 100 warships. They'll reach New Eden within days." Walker's mind raced. His fleet was small, only 20 ships. They had powerful weapons, but against an empire force that size, it would be a hard fight, maybe impossible. Still, Walker's decision was clear. "Get me Earth Command," he ordered. Minutes later, a hologram flickered to life on the bridge. It showed the leaders of the United Human Federation, presidents, admirals, and generals. Their faces were grim. "Captain Walker," said Admiral Reed, an old man with a deep voice, "you are the closest to New Eden. We cannot abandon it. You will lead our defense." Walker saluted sharply. "I understand, Admiral. We will hold the line." Another leader, President Khan, spoke. "Remember, Captain, humanity stands with you. Failure is not an option." The hologram faded. The weight of responsibility pressed down on Walker, but he showed no fear. He turned to his officers. "Prepare the fleet. Battle stations. We fight for New Eden. We fight for Earth." The crew moved fast, their fear replaced by determination. Lights dimmed to red. The sound of engines humming filled the air. Weapons systems came online. Ships moved into defensive positions around the colony. Walker stared out into space. Somewhere out there, the Empire's fleet was coming. A storm was about to break. He whispered under his breath, "Let them come. We'll show them what humans are made of." Captain James Walker stood in the war room aboard the Valor. Around him, holographic maps of space showed the incoming threat. Red dots, each one a powerful Empire ship, moved steadily toward New Eden. His fleet, small green dots, looked tiny in comparison. The heavy doors of the war room slid open. Lieutenant Holt and Chief Engineer Ramirez entered, both looking tense. "Captain, the latest scan confirms it," Holt said. "The Empire fleet is less than 3 days away." Walker nodded. "Good. That gives us some time." Chief Ramirez crossed his arms. "Not much time, sir. Their ships are bigger, heavily armed, and they outnumber us 5 to 1. Walker looked at both of them calmly. "Then we have to be smarter. We're not going to beat them by brute strength. We have to use everything, every asteroid, every moon, every trick we know." Before they could respond, a signal flashed on the main screen. It was Earth Command, calling back. Walker tapped the control panel. The faces of Admiral Reed and President Khan appeared again, this time with several military advisors beside them. "Captain Walker," Admiral Reed said, "we've reviewed the situation. Reinforcements from Earth will take too long to reach you. You and your fleet must hold New Eden at all costs." President Khan leaned forward. "We cannot lose this colony. It represents everything humanity has built beyond Earth. If New Eden falls, It will send a message to every other colony that we are weak. Walker understood. This wasn't just about one planet. It was about humanity's future among the stars. I accept the mission, Walker said firmly. We will not let them take New Eden. Good, Reed said. You have full authority to act as you see fit. Use every resource you have. The transmission ended. The room fell silent. Walker turned to his officers. His voice was steady and full of quiet strength. This is our fight now. We cannot expect help. We cannot expect mercy. All we can do is fight with everything we've got. Instead, he brought up the map again and pointed at several key locations. We'll set up defense grids here, here and here. We'll plant mines in the asteroid field. We'll use the gravity of New Eden's moon to hide part of the fleet. The officers listened carefully, taking notes and asking quick, sharp questions. The plan started to form. A defense built not on strength, but on speed, surprise, and cunning. As the meeting ended, Walker caught Holt's eye. She was younger than most of the crew, but her eyes were steady. "Lieutenant," he said quietly, "send a message to the people of New Eden. Tell them to prepare for evacuation, just in case." "Yes, sir." Walker knew what just in case really meant. If they failed, millions could die. He walked alone to the observation deck. Through the glass, he saw New Eden spinning below, beautiful, full of life. Families, children, dreams of a better future. He clenched his fists. "We will not fail," he said under his breath. "Not while I still breathe." Behind him, the Valor came alive with activity. Crews rushed to load weapons. Pilots checked their fighters. Engineers strengthened the shields. Every man and woman aboard knew what was coming. They chose to fight. Far out in space, invisible to the naked eye, the enemy was getting closer. The clock was ticking. The darkness of space stretched out like an endless ocean. But Captain James Walker and his crew were not looking at the beauty of it anymore. They were looking for death, and it was coming fast. "Enemy fleet entering sensor range," Lieutenant Holt said, her voice steady but tight. Walker stood in the center of the bridge, arms crossed behind his back. "Put them on screen." The main screen flickered. Dozens of massive Empire warships filled the view. Sleek, black hulls, sharp angles, red lights glowing like eyes of hungry beasts. Their formation was tight and perfect, a wall of destruction moving straight toward New Eden. A heavy silence filled the bridge. "There are so many," whispered one of the younger crew members. Walker's voice cut through the fear. "Doesn't matter how many. They bleed like anyone else." The crew straightened at his words. Fear turned into grim focus. A sudden beep. Incoming transmission. Holt looked at him. "It's from their flagship, sir." Walker nodded. "Let's hear it." The voice that came through was deep and cold, dripping with arrogance. "Humans, this is High Lord Zareth of the Galactic Empire. Your time among the stars is over. Surrender now, and you may be spared." Walker stepped forward, hands clasped behind his back. His reply was calm, but his words hit like steel. "This is Captain James Walker of the United Human Federation. We will not surrender. We will not bow. If you want New Eden, come and take it." There was a long pause. Then Zareth's voice returned, full of anger. "So be it." The transmission ended. The Empire ships began to move faster, weapons glowing to life. "All ships, battle stations," Walker commanded. Alarms blared through the Valor. Pilots sprinted to their fighters. Gunners manned their cannons. Shields powered up across the fleet. Everyone knew this was it. The first real test of humanity's strength. Walker watched the Empire fleet approach. He waited, calm and patient, like a hunter waiting for the perfect moment. "Enemy range in 30 seconds, Holt called out. Walker raised his hand. "Steady, steady." The enemy ships opened fire first. Blazing beams of energy shot through space, lighting it up like a deadly storm. Walker dropped his hand. "Now, scatter formation. Return fire." The human fleet split into smaller groups, dodging and weaving between enemy blasts. Human ships were faster and more flexible than the Empire's bulky war machines. They darted in and out, firing missile volleys and laser bursts. The Valor shook violently as near misses rocked its shields. Sparks flew from overhead panels, shields holding at 70%. Chief Ramirez shouted, "Focus fire on their lead cruiser," Walker ordered. On the screen, a massive Empire ship, larger than any in the human fleet, charged forward. The Valor and two other human ships concentrated their fire on its engines. Explosions burst across its surface. The enemy cruiser slowed, then spun out of control, smashing into another Empire ship. Cheers broke out across the bridge. Walker allowed a small smile. "Good work. Keep it up." But there was no time to relax. The Empire fleet regrouped quickly. They began pressing harder, trying to break through to New Eden. "Captain, we can't hold them forever," Holt warned. "We don't have to," Walker said. "We just have to hurt them enough to make them bleed." As the battle raged on, Walker saw a small window, a group of enemy ships moving slightly out of formation. "A mistake. Target their weak point," he barked. Human ships poured fire into the gap. Another Empire cruiser exploded, sending debris flying. Still, the Empire kept coming, relentless and cold. After hours of fighting, both sides pulled back slightly, ships battered and burning. The first clash was over, but it was clear this was only the beginning. Walker stood tall on the bridge. His fleet was bloodied, but alive. New Eden was still safe, for now. He knew the next battle would be even harder. He looked into the darkness, where the Empire was already regrouping. "They're learning," he muttered, "but so are we." The Valor floated quietly among the stars. Damaged crews rushed across its decks, sealing hull breaches and repairing broken systems. Inside the command center, Captain James Walker stood over a large tactical table, studying the wreckage left from the first battle. "Status report," Walker said, voice steady. Lieutenant Holt pulled up the latest figures. 6 of our ships heavily damaged, 2 lost. We took down 4 of theirs, including a command cruiser. Walker nodded. Pain stabbed at him for the lives lost, but he hid it. There was no time to mourn. Not yet. Chief Ramirez approached, a grin on his grimy face. "Sir, our salvage teams pulled something interesting from the wreckage." Walker raised an eyebrow. "Show me." Minutes later, deep inside the Valor's hangar, Walker inspected the captured prize, a damaged Empire scout ship. Its hull was scorched and bent, but the ship's command systems were still mostly intact. "We're trying to access their data banks," Ramirez said, tapping at a portable console. Lights flickered. Then a screen flashed to life. Maps, orders, ship designs, everything the Empire scout ship had stored, now lay open before them. Walker leaned in, eyes sharp. This is their battle plan." He scrolled through the files. The Empire's strategy was clear: crush New Eden's defenses quickly, then bring in reinforcements from a nearby Empire sector. Reinforcements that would double or even triple the Empire's current fleet size. "If those reinforcements arrive," Holt said quietly, "we're finished." Walker stared at the data. His mind raced. There was only one chance. They had to strike before the reinforcements came. They had to hit hard, hit fast, and cripple the enemy so badly that they couldn't recover. He turned to his officers. "We set a trap," he said. "We lure them into a narrow sector where their numbers don't matter. We use the terrain against them. We make them bleed." Holt looked uncertain. "Sir, the asteroid field near New Eden's moon. It's dangerous even for us." Walker's eyes hardened. "It's dangerous for everyone. And if we control the battlefield, we control the outcome." Chief Ramirez grinned. "Now that's a plan I can get behind." Walker moved quickly. Orders were given. Ships repositioned. Mines were planted among the asteroids. Small fighter squadrons hid behind space rocks, ready to strike at the perfect moment. Even the Valor itself powered down most of its systems to stay hidden. The whole fleet became a ghost, lying in wait. As they prepared, Walker gathered his senior officers in the briefing room. He stood at the front, hands behind his back. "I know the odds," he said. "I know what we're up against. But remember this, they think they've already won. They think we're weak. That's their mistake. He pointed at a large hologram of New Eden. We're fighting for more than just a colony. We're fighting for every man, woman, and child who dreams of a free future. Walker looked each officer in the eye. We don't have to beat them in a fair fight. We have to outsmart them. And we will. The officers nodded, their faces set with determination. The trap was almost ready. All they needed now was for the enemy to walk right into it. Out in space, the Empire ships continued to advance, unaware of the danger that waited for them among the rocks and shadows. Captain Walker returned to the bridge. He stood tall, watching the stars. "Let's finish this," he said softly. The Valor floated in complete silence, hidden behind a thick cluster of asteroids. Around it, the rest of the fleet waited, engines powered down, lights dimmed. In the cold blackness of space, they were nearly invisible. On the bridge, Captain James Walker stood perfectly still, watching the enemy fleet through the main screen. "They're coming, sir," Lieutenant Holt whispered. Just as we planned, the Galactic Empire's warships entered the asteroid field slowly. Their formations were tight, shields up, weapons ready. But they moved cautiously. The Empire commanders knew asteroid fields were dangerous, but they didn't know the real danger was not the rocks. It was Walker's fleet. "Hold position," Walker ordered softly. All across the fleet, pilots and gunners sat in silence, waiting for his signal. Every heart beat faster. Every hand hovered over weapons controls. One wrong move would reveal them too soon. On the screen, Walker watched as the enemy ships pushed deeper into the field. Big, clumsy cruisers scraped against asteroids. Smaller Empire fighters zipped ahead, scanning the rocks. "They're in range," Holt said, her voice tight. Walker narrowed his eyes. The time had come. He raised his hand, then dropped it sharply. "Attack!" The asteroid field exploded with life. Hidden mines detonated first, blasting apart the lead Empire ships. Huge bursts of fire and debris filled the space. Fighters launched from behind rocks, darting between asteroids and hammering the enemy with missile fire. Walker's capital ships roared to life, opening fire with everything they had. The Empire fleet, caught off guard, struggled to react. Their tight formations became a weakness. As they tried to dodge asteroids, they crashed into each other. Some ships spun out of control. Others slammed into hidden mines, ripping them apart. Direct hit on enemy flagship's shield generator. Holt shouted, "Press the attack." Walker commanded. The Valor surged forward, leading the charge. Its cannons lit up the darkness, carving through Empire cruisers like knives through metal. On the enemy bridge, High Lord Zareth roared in rage, but he had no time to recover. His ships were pinned, trapped between deadly rocks and deadly humans. Empire fighters tried to swarm Walker's forces, but human pilots, faster and better trained, picked them off one by one. Walker's trap was working perfectly, but it wasn't without cost. Damage to the Valor's starboard side. Ramirez yelled from engineering. Walker gritted his teeth. "Reroute power to shields. Keep moving." Explosions rocked the fleet. Both sides took losses, but for every human ship lost, 3 Empire ships fell. Walker saw an opening. One of the larger enemy carriers was drifting, its engines crippled. "Target that carrier," he ordered. "If it falls, their fighter support dies with it." The Valor and 3 escort ships focused fire on the carrier. A final missile barrage broke through its hull. The massive ship tore apart in a fiery explosion, scattering debris across the field. Cheers broke out on the bridge. Walker didn't smile, not yet. The battle wasn't over. "Sir," Holt called. "Empire flagship retreating. They're falling back." Walker's eyes stayed sharp. "Don't chase. Hold position. We need to protect New Eden." Across the wreckage-filled battlefield, what remained of the Empire fleet limped away, retreating back toward deep space. They had taken terrible losses. The trap had worked. The crew of the Valor stood at their stations, breathing hard, bloodied but victorious. Walker allowed himself a slow breath. He looked at New Eden, shining peacefully in the distance. It was safe, for now. But he knew High Lord Zareth would not accept this defeat easily. "He'll be back," Walker said quietly. And next time the fight would be even more brutal. The stars above New Eden were still burning with the wreckage of battle when the alarm sounded again on the Valor. "Captain, new Empire ships detected," Lieutenant Holt shouted. Captain James Walker rushed to the bridge. His heart dropped when he saw the screen. A second Empire fleet, larger than the first, was approaching. Reinforcements had arrived faster than expected. "How many?" Walker asked, voice calm. Holt's fingers flew across her console. "At least 50 fresh ships, sir. And High Lord Zareth's flagship is leading them." Walker nodded slowly. There would be no more tricks. No more hiding. This would be a straight fight to the death. He tapped the ship-wide comms. "This is Captain Walker," he said, his voice strong. "The enemy is coming. Bigger than before. Stronger. They think we are weak. They think they can break us. But they are wrong. Today we show them that humanity stands together. We fight. We survive." All across the fleet, soldiers and pilots prepared themselves. Shields were raised. Weapons powered up. Every man and woman aboard knew the truth. They might not live through this battle, but they would fight with everything they had. The enemy fleet closed in. "Prepare for impact," Walker ordered. The first wave of Empire ships hit like a hammer. Space filled with beams of energy, missiles, and fire. The Valor shook violently as the shields struggled to hold. Walker gripped the command rail tightly. "Target their smaller ships first. Break their wings." Human fighters swarmed into battle, diving through enemy lines and picking off weaker ships. Explosions lit up the dark. But the Empire fought harder too. Their heavy cruisers fired massive cannons, smashing through human defenses. One by one, human ships took heavy damage. "Sir, we've lost the UHF Liberty and UHF Resolute," Holt cried. Walker's jaw tightened. Every loss hurt, but he couldn't afford to lose focus. He spotted Zareth's flagship in the center of the enemy formation. Massive, deadly, but heavily protected. "If we take out Zareth's command ship, the rest will scatter," Walker said. It was a dangerous plan. Maybe even suicidal, but it was their best chance. He turned to his team. "Prepare a strike force. I'll lead it myself." Holt stepped forward. "Sir, that's too risky." Walker looked her in the eye. "If Zareth lives, we lose everything. This is our only shot." Minutes later, a small group of human fighters, led by Walker in a specialized assault craft, blasted away from the Valor. They weaved through enemy fire, racing straight for Zareth's flagship. Walker's hands were steady on the controls, his mind clear. They dodged lasers, sped through explosions, and tore through enemy defenses. 2 fighters were hit, but the rest pressed on. Finally, Walker's team breached the flagship's outer defenses. They landed on the massive ship's hull. In full combat armor, Walker led his squad inside through a breach made by explosives. Inside, Empire soldiers fought fiercely, but Walker and his team pushed forward, room by room. Blasters fired. Metal corridors shook underfoot. At last, Walker reached the command bridge. High Lord Zareth stood there, tall and cold, his alien face twisted with rage. "You should have surrendered, human," Zareth hissed. Walker raised his weapon. "Humanity bows to no one." They fought brutally. Zareth was strong, but Walker was faster. After a fierce battle, Walker landed the final blow, striking Zareth down. With Zareth dead, the flagship systems began to fail. Explosions rocked the ship. "Evacuate," Walker ordered. They raced back to their assault crafts and blasted away from the doomed ship. Behind them, the Empire flagship exploded in a ball of fire. Back on the Valor, Holt cheered. "Sir, the Empire fleet, they're retreating." Walker sat heavily in his chair. He allowed himself a tired, grim smile. The battle was over. Humanity had won. But at a terrible cost. The fires of battle had burned out. Space around New Eden was quiet now, filled only with the drifting remains of shattered Empire ships. Aboard the Valor, Captain James Walker stood at the wide observation window, Looking down at the planet below, New Eden was safe. Its green fields and blue oceans glowed softly under the distant sun. Behind him the bridge was busy but calm. Repairs were underway. Wounded were being treated. Messages of thanks poured in from the people of New Eden. Lieutenant Holt stepped beside him, her arm in a sling but smiling. "Sir, final count 15 ships lost. Heavy damage across the fleet, but we're still standing." Walker nodded. The losses were painful. Good people had given everything, but they had succeeded where the galaxy thought they would fail. He turned toward Holt. "Casualties among civilians. Minimal," she said. "Evacuations held. No cities were destroyed." Walker let out a slow breath. That mattered most of all. Across the bridge, screens flashed with news. Colonies across human space were celebrating. Earth itself had declared a day of honor for the fleet. For the first time in history, humanity had stood against an ancient empire, and won. "Sir," Holt said, handing him a datapad, "messages from Earth Command. They want you to speak to the people. They're calling it the miracle at New Eden." Walker smiled faintly. He wasn't a politician. He was a soldier. But he understood what this moment meant. He tapped into the ship's main comms. Across every human colony, every ship, every outpost, his voice would now be heard. "This is Captain James Walker. Today we prove that humanity will not be ruled. Today we showed that freedom is worth every sacrifice. The Empire believed we were weak. They were wrong." He paused, looking once more at New Eden. "We will not run. We will not bow. From this day forward, humanity claims its place among the stars, free and unbroken. We will build, we will protect, and we will endure." The message ended. Across the galaxy, humans cheered. Flags were raised. Families embraced, on the Valor. The crew gathered on the main deck. They stood tall, tired, but proud. Walker looked at them, knowing each face, each name, each story. "You did this," he said to them quietly. "All of you." The stars outside were calm again. But Walker knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was wide, full of new dangers and new hopes. But whatever came next, humanity would face it together. Walker turned away from the window and walked back to his crew, ready to build the future they had all fought for.